Hello again, Internet. My name's Joe. I launched a little clothing thing called the Inward Markings Garment Company last week, and I'm just doing a daily vlog to raise awareness of the brand, but also to share ideas that I think are of general interest, as the period leading up to the launch of the brand has caused me to reevaluate my life previously, and that's why I'm going through things chronologically, not just to be long-winded or tedious, and I'm certainly not presenting this as a guide to better living or presenting myself as any kind of role model or guide. It feels important to share these experiences, and I think for people who I've met offline and who I've had interactions with, it will hopefully clarify bits and pieces that I've mentioned here and there, both online and in conversations. The website is inwardmarkings.com. The Instagram is @inwardmarkings. This YouTube channel has the first 4 chapters of this vlog, which you'll need to watch to make sense of what I talk about today. And please, if kind of taboo subjects or discussions of illegal activity or people, engaging in behaviours that are non-normative, outside the mainstream, are upsetting to you, just tune out now, please. Let's make the most of our lives and not waste it with, really lame online interactions via comment threads, etc. So where I left off last episode was a near-death experience, or a near-death equivalent experience, selling LSD after arriving in Melbourne, where there was what you could call a heroin epidemic, unprecedented levels of purity, unprecedented access, a lot of it street-based. And I'd commenced using it, and the LSD selling was a way to raise money. So that's going to, if that irks you, then this is not the vlog for you. But my intent throughout that whole time was never about harming people or trying to be malevolent. And in fact, in terms of the drug use that's been prominent through a large part of my life, it was never an end in and of itself. It wasn't about 100% hedonism. It wasn't about, amassing people or women in my bedroom doing lines of coke and whatever. Like, I'm not judging people who do those things, but my drug use was never about that. It was about, obviously, enjoyment and the pleasure that I received from it, but it was, when it entered my life, it merged with my innate sense that I talked about in previous episodes to address injustice, to try and make a difference. So that's why I got involved with the politics around drug use and the reduction of the harms and community development in the area. But also, other ideas outside of that. And given the experiences I'd had to that point, and now I'm realizing that it's been part of a destined process. I am where I need to be, and the profound life change that has happened in the lead up to this brand and necessitated the launching of it, whichever way I look at it, it could only have been possible with the way that my life has rolled out. I mean, at the time, as you can imagine, I'm wondering, why have certain things transpired? How did I end up doing this? Because obviously, you don't plan out the kind of life that I've led. It's not something that people aspire to. And for me, it wasn't about planning, but if you like, there was an intuitive sense that I'm only really understanding better now. And so at that time in my life, it enabled me to, I guess, be functional in the way that I most wanted to be. So I became involved with preventing harms at rave and electronic music events, but also being involved in the kind of community movements that were around at that time. I mentioned Reclaim the Streets and things like that. I'm certainly not putting myself out there as some kind of fucking hero activist, but that was always my ultimate intent. The drug use was something that came into play in addition to that, and then there was the merging, of course, in terms of my life. So whilst in the inner north area that I'm in now, I commenced a very short period, about 2 to 3 months, of selling heroin in one of the active street-based markets on Smith Street, the main strip of Collingwood. And again, I wasn't fucking hanging around schoolyards or trying to, induct people into drug use of any kind. And I've never used drugs with underage people. I mean, I don't even want to be a fucking parent. Why would I seek to use drugs with underage people? It would be a complete bummer. Like, there would be no fun. I'd have this constant sort of parental urge, and that's not that's not what having fun on drugs or meaningful drug experiences are about. No. So I was selling to willing adult buyers who came to the area or who were based in the area, seeking that out. Not door knocking or any bullshit like that. So, I'm not like a big, go out and meet the people type. So it certainly wasn't of interest to me to spend as much time with people who were seeking it out as possible. It was about supporting what I was doing at that time, and given the high purity, the physical dependency that eventuated was intensive. And so what I'm just going to talk about today is, during that time period, another incident occurred that I wrote off as kind of good luck. To an extent, I was still in disbelief at the time, and now it's part of this longer narrative and hopefully you'll be able to see things from my perspective once further chapters are added, and you can sort of see why I've approached this chronologically. Now, again, if you leap to being judgmental and that kind of thing, please tune out now. I'm not talking about what happens next with pride or because I was looking to, fuck anyone over. That has nothing to do with it, but it feels important to share this as part of this retelling. But if you're going to get on my fucking back about it, even though there's probably like 1.5 people watching this, just save yourself the trouble and tune out now. So I was just going about my daily business and turned up at an ATM, and there was a card still in the ATM slot. Now, normally, even back then, I would have just left it on the counter, on the ledge of the ATM window, or I would have returned it to the bank. I'm fairly certain that the bank was closed, so it was after hours. Like, my memory of all this stuff is solid, but I will always be clear about when things are a bit hazy. But I'm not here to like convince you guys of the veracity of my experiences. So this is my retelling, and take it as you will. And at the time, and it's making more sense to me now, I just felt the need to hang on to that card. There was a strong feeling within me that it was important to hang on to that card. So I did. And then over the next kind of week or so, and the card, it was likely that the card would have been cancelled, but where I was living, there was, I can't remember whether I did research or it just became apparent through my daily living. There was one branch in, I think it would be the whole of the city, that not only did not have an ATM attached to it, but it didn't have those like ATM card readers that you have at the teller windows, so that even if someone comes in with a card, they still need to use their PIN number, right? But this one branch, I'd never seen anything like it. It was very near to where I was staying as well. Just didn't have any of that technology. It was like it was from a previous generation. Everything else had upgraded, but this one branch that happened to be really near me didn't have any of that. And yeah, maybe it didn't have the internal sort of camera stuff as well, because the way things panned out is again, it was a deep feeling to just go in there and try to withdraw money using this card at that particular branch. Like, it's a long time ago now, and but I'm very clear that my life has never been about seeking out the next crime. Things have happened in what you could call, I guess, an atypical way. And I remember at the time thinking, I feel compelled to do this, but it feels like a ridiculous thing to even attempt. I'm going to get turned away as soon as I get asked for ID, etc. The signature on the back of the ATM card was very basic. And so my compulsion led me to fill out a withdrawal form and just take it to the counter. And I didn't even know what the balance was or if there was even any money in there. I mean, the card, it was likely that the card wouldn't have even been valid. For some reason, the teller, it was an unusual experience, but the teller seemed to be in some kind of really, like a very vague state. It seemed unreal because this was prior to the Royal Commission for Banking in Australia. Bank staff, when it comes to withdrawing money, they're very switched on. And not only did the teller not ask me for any accompanying ID or direct me to an ATM, there was no questioning at all. And the teller just proceeded with everything that I requested. It was highly unusual, outlandish, you might say. And so first I requested the balance, which the teller didn't take as a strange request, given that it was my account. And it would have been very easy for me to find that balance. And then upon giving me the balance, I then added that to the withdrawal slip and forged the signature, was not asked for any additional ID. And again, like with the being held up with the syringes experience, I was mostly like intrigued at what was going on. So that overrode my anxiety. And I was given the cash and then walked out, and just in this kind of daze, a daze of disbelief, and eventually gathered myself, threw away the jacket that I was wearing, thinking that would be something that could get me caught later. So yes, I wasn't a complete like zombie. I knew that I was doing something illegal, and yes, my brand's going to fucking become super popular now and so forth. But the retelling of this is fits into that bigger picture, like I've said. And the money was a decent amount in terms of what I needed at that time, and it arrived at exactly the right time, and it helped. It was very helpful for me, and that's not the first time that's occurred with specific regard to my drug use and heroin use as well. So I'm not here boasting about that experience. I'm not here boasting about the fact that I don't have any diseases related to my past drug use, or I never overdosed, or I never went to prison. Oh, maybe I will after this fucking vlog. But as I've said, it feels very much like I had to undertake the stage of my life where I used drugs, and even the portion where I was physically dependent on them in order to get to where I'm at now. So yeah, inwardmarkings.com, at inwardmarkings, and chapter 6 will be coming tomorrow as per the daily schedule. Thank you so much for watching if you have. And yes, I believe that there's been a protective factor in my life that is beyond the material realm that has allowed me to arrive where I'm at now, where I'm still astonished by the place that I'm at now. Entirely unexpected. Thank you. See ya.